Awesome. Thanks very much for coming by today, everybody. Today I have Dan with me.
Hi, guys.
Dan is an interesting fella. I've known him for quite a few years now. And he's exactly what you want to talk about on a Friday afternoon. You want to talk about insurance. It's the most riveting way to end your week.
Yep. Everyone loves talking about insurance.
Only when they need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So why don't you give us a bit of a background, Dan? Who are you? What do you do?
Okay. Well, I mean, who I am? Well, I'm a family man. I got a new little boy that I've been fathering for about a year and a half. So I'm figuring out the parent life, which has been great. I know you got some kids of your own.
Yeah.
So I know you know how that goes. It's been a
Yeah.
great journey. What I do for work is I offer, a specialized style of insurance. Not a lot of people know about it, but it's basically called loss of time insurance, which is very relevant to what's going on in the world right now. We'll probably talk about it as we go. But yeah, basically, I'm just a guy that's always, I have a background in athletics. I've gone to university. I've done the whole trial and error of trying to figure out what I wanted to do in my life, and always wanting to get better, always wanting to be in the business of helping people. And then somehow I've landed myself in the insurance industry, which is never a place I ever thought I would have ended up.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you mentioned that your style of insurance is very different. Not a lot of people know about it, which is
Yes.
exactly why I wanted to have this discussion with you, because I feel like, and again, I'm not an expert in your field, but I feel like when people, as soon as they hear the word insurance, it's the same as like accountant, lawyer, and their eyes kind of glaze over and they just kind of tune out. And we've had many conversations before, and I think what you do is invaluable. And I know that you've got a lot of experience helping people in real situations, not some fake, phony, in 1 in a millionth opportunity happens, then we'll cover you. But this is like real stuff that helps real people.
Yeah.
If you could talk a bit more about what you do.
Yeah, well, just to touch on what you said before, right? Usually when people ask what I do and I say I'm in insurance, there is definitely that glazed look in the eye and here we go. And I know exactly where people's brains are going when the word insurance is brought up, because that's exactly what my brain did when people brought it up to me. So what separates what I'm doing now is the fact that, of course, the company I'm with is called Combined. And, when I was first told about Combined, I did the same response. Eyes kind of rolled back, and I was just trying to wait to get out of that conversation.
Yeah.
But I actually took a look at what they did, and one thing that really separates, I think, what they do compared to the traditional styles of insurance that I've seen out there is it's an insurance you actually are able to utilize and use throughout your lifetime. Traditional insurances are almost impossible to use unless you die, unless you become critically ill, or unless you become disabled for an extended period of time. There's a lot of fine print and there's a lot of areas around it that make it very hard for you to utilize insurance. So I think the reason why a lot of people are hesitant when it comes to insurance is the fact that they think they're going to be throwing money into the pit and never get anything from it unless they're dead. Okay, so what we do differently is what we actually focus on covering loss of time for everyday common injuries. So what it looks like is anything from soft tissue sprains to the more serious stuff like heart attack, cancer, stroke, and accidents and things like that. People actually see claims from us all the time, even if it's just a short-term injury. Probably one of the more relevant things is for parents like you and me. If you're, for example, a parent and you get a call that one of your kids, falls off the monkey bars and breaks their arm, what do?
Yeah.
You typically drop whatever you're doing, go to the hospital and take the day off. So what that looks like for parents is parents are dealing with this all the time where their kids get hurt or sick. They now have to take time off work, and their boss is probably not going to pay them to take time off work to tend to their kids. So what we do is we basically make sure that all types of injuries and illnesses we can cover you for and make sure that you have money coming in so that you don't have to lose income if an accident or sickness occurs. Does that kind of make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And I think one thing that I just want to focus on a bit more, because I don't think a lot of people understand this, is they may have been saying in their head right now, yeah, it's fine. I have critical illness. I have disability insurance. I have life insurance. But I think you touched on something that's super important that a lot of people either forget or don't even know about is, I don't know what you call it, like the loading period or the waiting period. The waiting period, right? So even if you have coverage, if you don't fall into that category of actually being able to get the coverage, then you're going to be without something for a very long time. And I mean, what's the typical waiting period on a policy? 45 or 90 days?
The industry standard for a waiting period is 120 days or 4 months.
4 months. Okay, there you
Yeah.
go. And
So
yeah, that's insane.
just to explain what that means, an insurance a person will try to sell you a disability policy. The waiting period will be 120 days. What it means is if you got in a car accident today and you went out and bought this disability policy and you were covered and you were good, you would have to be completely off work and unable to produce an income for an entire 4 months before your disability benefit even kicks in. Okay, so what that means is even if you buy disability of a 120-day waiting period, you don't see a dime of any support or financial assistance until that time is served. And the reason why insurance companies give you a waiting period of 120 days is because they know statistically the majority of your illnesses and accidents you're going to be healed up from by 4 months, and you'll be back to work anyway.
Yep.
And for people like us that are self-employed, a lot of us are just going to tough it out and find a way to work and run our businesses anyway before that waiting period is up, which means that we'll be back to work by force. Just because we have businesses to run or income to produce, we can't go 4 months without running our business or producing an income.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's so important to just build on, because maybe this doesn't sound very obvious to some people out there, but the statistic is from the States, but basically the statistic says that the average person has less than $1,000 in their savings account at any one time.
Yes.
That they can that they can anticipate and absorb about a $400 cost of a surprise, and anything above $400 pretty much puts them in dire straits. So I mean, you think about that, how much income a single person or a family would need for 4 months. It's insane, man. It's tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, it doesn't take long to fall behind, and unfortunately, Canadian statistic is 48% of Canadians right now are living paycheck to paycheck. What that looks like, especially for people that have kids and mouths to feed, is if you miss even 1 or 2 paychecks, you're now spending the next sometimes 2, 3, 4 months playing catch up, because it's not like your bills stop while your income stops.
Yeah.
So I think one of the key things that our company focuses on is that we removed waiting periods from our coverage, which means first day coverage. The day that you get hurt, the day that you get sick, we're going to start compensating you for the time that you've lost. I think that's absolutely massive, because really the critical period of time that people want to be covered for is right away if something happens, not 4 months down the road.
Yeah. 4 months is great, but not feasible. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, it sounds good on paper when you've never been injured, but I'm sure the second you're injured, all of a sudden 4 months is an eternity. I mean,
it's huge.
Time is emotion, right? I mean, and we all know this. If you're going to the doctor and you don't like doctors and you've got a white coat syndrome, sitting in the lobby for 15 minutes feels like an eternity.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're waiting for something that you don't want or you don't like, time ticks on forever.
Yeah.
Versus if you're spending a night with, your husband or wife, or you're out on a first date, it's like, where did the time go? It's been 5 hours. I don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people in that situation, I'm going to say the obvious thing is that they're not in very good moods. They're not feeling great. They're not motivated. They're probably a little freaked out. They're a little vulnerable. And then finding out they got to wait 4 months, they might even feel a little duped, like the wool got pulled over their eyes. And, it's, and I'm sure the default answer is, well, yeah, but it's in the fine print. And we talked about this when you signed the policy. And it's like, I get that, but did you really spend any time talking about statistics, talking about, why it's 4 months? Probably not. You want the signature, you want the commission, and I'm sure people want to help people. I don't think that these agents are ill-intentioned. I think it's just that my gut tells me, and I'm not the expert here, you are, but my gut tells me it's just the industry standard. So people just kind of go along with whatever is best practiced and accepted. But that doesn't have to be the way.
Yeah.
You've got a much better solution.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that. The reason why people have disability pills with a 4 month waiting period is because advisors are telling them, you want to make sure that you're covered for long term. What if you're off work for 2, 3, 4 years, right? So from that perspective, it's an easier sell, because you're like, yeah, you're covered for 4 years of disability. But let's be honest, John, let's talk about it. And anyone that's listening, how many times in your life have you been injured and disabled for 4 months or less versus 4 months or more, right? I think just pretty much any one of us can say that we've been disabled for 4 months or less, whether it be a broken bone, a sprained ankle, some kind of smaller to medium injury, very, very small percentage of people are ever actually disabled for more than 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And if they are, it is statistically for a long time, but 90% of all of your disabilities and injuries are going to fall within that 4 month waiting period, which is still devastating financially if you have to drop 4 months of income and live off of your savings or live off of your credit afterwards.
Well, and I was actually waiting to talk about that because it's the second part that worries me more than the first. I mean, if you have taken care of your finances and you're prudent and you've planned for things and you have, a couple of years worth of cash flow, sure, 4 months you can absorb, you're not that stressed. But most people don't.
Yeah.
So they immediately go to their lines of credit. They go to their credit cards. They go to whatever is easiest access at the moment, which then just further, indebts them and puts this vicious cycle of consumer debt and too many expenses into a perpetuity that now you're just trying to play catch up.
Yep.
And then another natural event happens, like a recession. Recessions are very natural. They happen every 5 to 7 years, like a COVID-19, like a hurricane, a tornado. I mean, we're in Alberta, man. You can get -30 and a feet of snow and it's just office is shut down for 3-4 days because that's life.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think what you do is super invaluable. Now with COVID-19 going on right now, and a lot of people, worried. I've got a lot of phone calls. I've talked to quite a few people who are unsure of the future. They're
Right.
and rightfully so. They're overwhelmed a little bit, and they're not sure which way to go. What would you say to somebody right now who's maybe doesn't have insurance, and they're not sure what to do? They're not sure what steps to take. Like, where do they go from here?
In regards to insurance or just in general?
In general, and something specific to what you do.
Well, I would say like right now, unfortunately, probably one of the largest factors about the whole COVID-19 is the fear and the hysteria and the panic around it. It's causing people to make a whole lot of panic-based decisions, emotional-based decisions that aren't actually probably the right things that they need to do. Like I'm sure everyone for the longest time was going off about toilet paper. I don't know where that came from or what kind of problems that solves, but we all know everyone's bottoms are going to be super clean for the next little while. But other than that, I don't really know what it's supposed to do. But I mean, I think during this time, I think people just need to stay calm, focus on your family, look at what resources you have to lean on right now, and listen to the authorities, listen to the credible sources that are actually guiding us and telling us what the next appropriate moves are, rather than running to social media and now suddenly everyone's an expert.
Oh my God.
And everyone needs to listen to social media. I just say, listen, WHO, I'm pretty sure is a credible resource. Our provincial health ministers might know what they're talking about. Don't listen to anyone else and don't buy into the fear. The fear is probably just as crushing, if not more than the virus itself in some cases.
No, it absolutely is. And it's funny you talk about that because the only time that you buy into the fear is in the stock market. And that's when you want to buy into the fear because it's always darkest before the dawn, right? But this will pass in 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years from now. People are going to look back and they're going to be like, "You remember that COVID-19 thing, man? That was crazy, dude. I bought 2,000 rolls of toilet paper. Like, what the hell was I thinking?"
Mm-hmm.
I have a theory on the toilet paper thing, and it's completely unchecked, but it makes sense in my mind because I'm a perpetual optimist. I feel like a guy was in Costco. And maybe he was a little panicked about COVID. Maybe he just came back from Asia right before, China closed down. And he was like, okay, well, holy crap. And he's on edge. And then some lady runs in with like 2 shopping carts. She owns like a catering company and a couple restaurants and, forgot to buy a bunch of supplies. And she's freaking out because they got a huge party this weekend. Yep. Doesn't even know what COVID is. Running through Costco, jamming shit in her cart, getting all the toilet paper, paper towel, garbage bags, everything she can. Runs out of the store, throws the credit card at the cash register, and she's just out of there, man. And this guy is like, oh shit, it's here. And he just starts shoveling things in his cart. And the next thing you know, fear consumes. And it just, the next person, he runs out of this Costco and he's like, the world's going to end,
Mm-hmm.
And that's boom, it goes nuts. And it's funny because when it started happening, I actually thought it was a joke. I thought it was a spoof the first couple of days. And I was like, oh, that's funny. People toilet paper, right?
Yeah, me too. That's exactly what I thought.
Yeah. Until I had to go to Costco. Like I had to go to Costco. It's our shopping run. So we go and I'm like, I got to see this, man. So I walked down the aisle. We didn't need toilet paper, but I walked down the aisle and sure enough, I'm like looking It's just a big empty pit where toilet paper normally is. And the poor stock boy is bringing over the paper towel, and you can see he's just like, oh man. And there's just like a bunch of lions on like a dead carcass, they're just like, and they're just sitting there on the sides. And the second the forks drop and he pulls out, everyone's just like, and they're all over the paper towel. And I'm just like, come on, people. I've got a list of stuff that I want during like some kind of health crisis or environmental crisis, and toilet paper is like number 90 on that list. It doesn't even come close. Like,
totally. You know what it is though? That's exactly an example of the panic-based decisions. Like, other people are buying toilet paper, so we better do that too. Doesn't matter the reason why, or if it makes sense, or if we have a closet full of toilet paper already, we need to stock up.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, there's a lot of more important things to stock up on than toilet paper during a time like this. And in regards to what we've been seeing is, obviously now things are normalizing a little bit. People are starting to find toilet paper again. People are calming down a little bit. So there is, of course, that light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you and I talked about this a bit offline, but now that we have a captive audience, maybe people are a little more open to listening to what you might want to say, even though you've probably been beating your head against the wall trying to get them to listen the last 5 years. What would you say to those people? Like, aside from I told you so, what else would you say?
Well, I mean, I got into this business because I believe in helping people. I don't want to be a salesy salesperson. I just try to provide options and facts and reason and let people make the best decision for themselves. So, I mean, obviously when we're talking about insurance to people and the type of insurance that I deal with, sometimes people think it's too good to be true. A lot of other times people just think nothing bad will happen to them, so they better just save their money. That's actually one of the most ridiculous things is I got savings, I don't need insurance, because the whole purpose of insurance is to prevent debt and to preserve your savings so that your savings can be used for something like investments or maybe that family trip you wanted to go on. It's not meant to just be squandered on your next illness. And when something like COVID strikes, suddenly people that don't think it'll happen to them, now everyone thinks they got COVID. They got a sniffle, they got a cough, they're worried about having COVID. I think it's actually a good thing because people are going to start appreciating the value for being proactive and getting the right coverages and insurances in place. So that God forbid something like this were to happen to them, they would actually still have money coming in to pay for the household. The financial stress would be one less thing to worry about on top of the midst of being sick or injured due to some unexpected life event. And when you got a global event like COVID, where everyone in the world is being affected, I think that we're all going to come out of this a little bit more mindful, and there will be a window of time where people are trying to be more proactive towards their health, their finances. I hope, anyway.
Me too, man. That's definitely what I'm striving towards, and I've been trying to yell at people the last few weeks that this is an opportunity, and I don't make light of the health implications and the people suffering, not at all. But you take that side out of it, and this is probably the greatest opportunity we're going to see in the next 10 years of our lives from so many different ways. One, think about how many people have slowed down now.
Yeah.
Dinners at home versus going out to restaurants, spending time with their family, hanging out, getting to know the people that you love the most with, enjoying some passions or recreations. My wife and I were avid runners. We do a lot of mountain running, trail marathons, and ultra marathons. And we're in the trails in the River Valley all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know how many people I see on a regular basis. And the last 2 weeks, it's been 10 times that amount of people, which on one hand, it's the first time in my life I feel like a cranky old guy because I'm like, get off the trails. Like, what are you doing?
MySpace, yeah.
MySpace, and it's like, but on the other hand, I'm like, oh man, that's so cool. Like they're out with their family on a Sunday. And then I'm like, wait, no, get out of here. Like, don't be here.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I hope people take this as an opportunity. Yes, there's going to be pain. Yes, there's going to be a lot of hardship. Yes, if you haven't prepared and if you're somebody who's very impulsive and doesn't plan or think for the future, you're going to go through some difficult times. But the greatest opportunities are right at the other side of fear. They're right at the other side of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And whether that's a business opportunity, whether that's a chance to learn a new skill, whether that's a chance to transition and move jobs or careers, now you've kind of got that kick in the butt that maybe you haven't been given to yourself. So it's a great time. I'm super pumped for everything outside of the health complications. Obviously, I don't wish anything bad to anybody, but I hope people do change. I hope that they actually take this in stride and listen. And hopefully, that transitions into more people listening to what you have to say, because I want you to share a story with everybody out there that you've shared with me about the trampoline park.
Oh, right. So,
Because when you told me this, it changed my perspective from like, yeah, that's never going to happen, to all of a sudden it was like, shit, that's just real life, man. Like, wow.
right. Yeah, that's a pretty crazy story. So, I mean, a lot of people have heard of this. A couple years ago, that was, yeah, about 3 years ago
Yeah.
now, a young man went to the trampoline park and in Sherwood Park, and he fell in the foam pit, jumped in and bottomed out and broke his neck. And the crazy part about that is I only had met him 3 weeks earlier and got him covered on some insurance, uh, which covers exactly this type of thing. And, this kid was a fantastic kid, smart kid, bright kid, he's very capable, and his whole life course switched in an instant. And lucky for him, at first, his mom will even tell you, his mom was like scoffed at him for getting this insurance. She's like, oh, somebody duped my son.
Yeah.
Then he broke his neck, and that insurance ended up being a pretty massive claim settlement for them, which helped them get through that time, because you don't think about all the onset costs of what happens when something that severe happens. As a parent, you're quitting your job. You have all of these doctor's appointments. You have all these extra expenses, renovating your home to make it wheelchair accessible. There's all of these things that would come from out of pocket that typical insurances wouldn't really cover. And we were able to give out quite a massive lump sum for that family to help them get through that time and cover the costs of a catastrophic loss like that. And that poor guy, he's actually very tenacious. He's always fighting to recover. He's trying all kinds of treatments. He's doing rehab. I'm still in touch with their family. But when you think about something like that, when I sat down with him, I didn't think, hey, you're gonna have a spinal cord injury in 3 weeks. I'm glad you're getting this. You don't ever think that, even as an insurance person. But when it happens and you realize that family would have been probably financially devastated from the cost of everything and the loss of work and parents having to take time off, it's really nice to know that like a difference was made for that family, at least financially, so they could focus on the bigger issues, which was like actually the injury and the subsequent course of life that has to be adapted to in light of that situation. At the end of the day, when I tell people about insurance, it's not about the money, it's about the time. It's about being with your family when something happens. That's what you're paying for, that peace of mind to not have to worry about the financials when something more serious happens to your family or someone that you love.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. You've probably told me this story 3-4 times now, and I just got goosebumps again every single time, because that's not like a far-fetched, my son was a base jumper and he was crazy, and that's like just a regular person probably hanging out with friends or family, doing something that probably 50% of people have tried, experienced, or do on a regular basis. And it's just like, it's not like he was taking crazy risks and doing things that he's just living his life.
Yeah.
Just living his life.
I think it was a birthday celebration. He was just, you never think it'll happen to you, but this stuff happens every single day.
Yeah.
We should always be grateful that, we have our health and things, but some of us don't get so lucky, and some of us do have to go through, these types of things. And that's the whole point of being proactive and getting some coverage in place so that you're prepared for things like that.
Yeah, crazy, man. And I just thinking about something else you said, that you guys protect against loss of time, right?
Yes.
So I've never talked to you about this, but I have this kind of like, I guess, motto or credo that time is the most valuable asset you have, and time is the currency of the future.
Yep.
And I truly believe this, because you have 365 days a year. You have 365 chances to start over. You have tons of opportunity to change course, adjust, fail, get up again, but you never can get time back.
No.
At the end of the day, that day is gone, man.
Yeah. Everyone gets the exact same 24 hours in a day that they can allot to whatever is important to them. But once it's gone, and you can't buy it back.
No, there's no buying it back. And the thing I love about that same 24 hours is when people complain. They complain about, well, I'm not rich enough, or I live in the wrong city, or my parents didn't hug me enough. Man, Elon Musk, you, me, Bill Gates, Mother Teresa, we all get the same 24 hours a day. It's
Mm-hmm.
what you choose to do with that 24 hours that makes all the impact and difference in your life.
Yep.
And taking a little bit of time, taking a little bit of money, preparing for a situation that likely will never happen in the grand scheme of your life, I think is a wise investment.
Yep.
It's absolutely, I'm sure it helps your clients sleep at night. I'm sure the people who have your policy, they can just check out, they can forget about it, and they can just sleep a little more peacefully now, knowing that if something were to happen, they're covered.
Yep, absolutely, John. And since that one big instance at the trampoline park, I'll tell you right now, on average, I have about at least one client per week who calls me up because they sprained something, strained something, broke something, spent a night in the hospital, and they're going to be getting paid for their time because that's how the policies work. So I have on average have had probably between 40 to 50 clients claim over the last year out of my own personal clientele. What's significant about that is the very fact that I know that I'm doing right by my clients, and something's obviously working for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
But if you talk to a traditional insurance broker, not to discredit anything of what they do, because they do offer a valuable service, they don't get claims like that. Most of them will go years without a single claim because it means someone had to die, someone had to be critically ill, things or off work for 4 months or longer. Whereas what I'm doing is like, I just had a roofer, break his thumb going dirt biking. He's going to be getting paid right from the first day that he's missing work until he's ready to go back to work. He doesn't have to worry about a paycheck, his bills, he's covered, he's good to go. And like, in light of everything that's happening right now, we've had a lot of people reaching out and calling, inquiring, are we covered for the COVID with our policies? And based on what I've seen out there, we're the only insurance company that can relevantly cover for the virus. And it's giving people a lot of extra peace of mind because people just figure that they're not going to be covered for it, but actually we have been, and we do, and it's actually something I'm really proud to share. Not because I want people to get it, but because we cover pretty much everything that could happen to people.
Yeah. That's cool, man. That's really cool. So if people want to get a hold of you, if they want more information, if they just want to know what you do, how do they reach you? How do they contact you?
Well, probably the most entertaining thing you could do, if you want, you can call me directly, you can email me, but I have a Facebook business page called Protect Your Lifestyle. Very easy to find. That's where I do most of my educating on there, and just trying to make it fun. I got lots of clients coming on sharing testimonials. I talk to other professionals that I collaborate with who also see value in the niche that I'm filling in the insurance industry. Protect Your Lifestyle at Facebook is basically my way of basically communicating to the public. There is something that's different and unique out there that can protect your family. You can definitely message me on there, and you can definitely email me anytime you want off that platform.
Cool. There we go. I'll share that in the link too, and I'll send this video out so you can put it on your Facebook page. And hopefully this brings some people just peace of mind, a little clarity that just gives them some idea that there are solutions out there, that they don't have to, sit without any possibility of seeing the future. And maybe for people who have been through something, not necessarily COVID, will give them a bit of inspiration and direction and what they can do to prevent themselves from another event happening later on in their life.
Yeah, absolutely. And John, like I was going to ask you, because this is more your area when it comes to investments. This is probably not a bad time to invest in the world, isn't it?
It is. I started 2 weeks ago. Yes is the answer. But 2 weeks ago, I came upstairs. I've got a home office. I came upstairs and I saw my wife, and I'm like, baby, I'm shaking. My hands are sweaty. And she's like, what happened? Are you okay? And I'm like, oh, it's so good, baby. Everything just went on sale. Everything. And I have this like other saying, this mantra that I say, and I've said it many times, is like, if you walk into Starbucks and they're like, Dan, it's Friday today, all drinks are 50% off, you would be thrilled. You'd be like, yes, I'm going to get the venti with the extra whip and the caramel and all this, and just load it up, man. You'd be thrilled.
Yep.
But if Starbucks, the company, the stock goes on sale 50% off, people freak out. People lose their mind. People think the world is going to end. And that's not a blanket statement to say you should just run out and invest in any company that's 50% off. There's a lot more to it than that. But that's the difference, is like Levi's jeans will have a 2-for-1 sale and you go and gobble it up. But if the stock drops 50%, you freak out.
Mm-hmm.
And it just doesn't, I don't understand it. Like I don't get it. So it's very good time. I always have to separate the two, because from a, you know, a person to person standpoint, this is a very difficult time, and I don't make light of the health, implications of it and the pain. And if you take that side out, it's amazing, man. There's so much going on for people who do good work, for companies that are good. Yeah, they may suffer a little bit, but they're going to suffer less. And I think they're actually going to come out on top even better, because the bad players are going to go under. The companies that can't cut it, they're going to go out of business, which is going to make more room for good quality companies to take market share, to better serve clients, to, figure out a different way to increase their margins and actually help people more than they were before this thing. So I'm pumped. I'm very excited.
Yeah, no doubt. And this is also probably a really cool time in the world where a lot of businesses are learning to transition to remote and being able to do business over Zoom, over phone calls.
Yep.
Our business did the exact same thing. We can't do face-to-face appointments right now, so everything's on Zoom. So I'm thinking of a lot of companies are changing their systems and processes to accommodate a new way of doing business, which is, I think, a whole other opportunity, and we'll see how that unfolds over time.
100%, man. Yeah, we'll have to do another one in a year and see.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, buddy. I really appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much for the invaluable information you shared today. I'll get this out to everybody so that we can share this and hopefully help somebody out.
My pleasure. It was great talking with you as always, John.
Awesome, man. Take care, Dan. Take care of your son.
Will do. You as well.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.